Alright, kind of the classic WWE versus, I guess, current TNA. I know some people have asked for some different sorts of ones. So Ash by Elegance wanted her to get a little bit more ring time before I do anything with her. That, of course, was Dana Brooke. So with this one, we have the Big Red Machine versus PCO, Perfect Creation 1. So if you don't know who PCO is, so you're gonna, oh man, I'm gonna probably butcher his name. So you have seen him in WWF, you have seen him in WCW. He also did an initial run in TNA where he was just a guy in a mask. So if you've ever seen Pierre Pierre Oilet, I butchered his name because I don't speak French. So very much he was a Quebecer. He was also a pirate. No, he was not the pirate who was very much the idea of Captain Jack Sparrow. But so he had a really solid small run against Bret Hart when Bret Hart was towards the higher up echelon in the WWF. So he's still wrestling now. Both he and Kane were both born in 1967. PCO is still going strong today. Pretty similar when it comes to weight. Again, I'm looking at build weights here. Kane 323, PCO 300. Kane build height is 7 foot. As you can tell, that's not accurate, with PCO being 6'1". So as long as these are my opinions, if you disagree, that's why there's the comment section. Strength. I'm going to give this one to Kane. Kane is just a slightly physically larger individual, and if you were to look at Kane, Kane's always just been a big, more muscular dude. Where if you look at PCO, PCO has more of that, I'll say Cactus Jack sort of body type to him. Still very large arms, still very physically imposing, just not as much when it comes to someone like Kane. I went back and forth with this one, whether it's the Big Red Machine or the French Canadian Frankenstein's monster. Kane normally just moved a little bit faster. And I think a portion of that too is just the ring work and ring psychology that PCO is doing. He is a Frankenstein's monster sort of character. So he's going to take a tremendous amount of beating, but he's not going to be incredibly fast because he doesn't need to be. He's the slow, methodical, near unstoppable killing machine. I will definitely give PCO the edge when it comes to endurance. So Kane retired several years ago. PCO is still going strong now. PCO was initially retired, then came back with Perfect Creation #1, and has been absolutely killing it when it comes to the matches that he's in. You're on YouTube right now. You can find quite a few of his matches that he's done in TNA recently. He does fantastic work in ROH, and he's just been a fantastic, like near unstoppable monster who loses infrequently. Toughness. He goes on the PCO. One of his big moments in Ring of Honor is he took, I think it was either a power bomb from the apron to the concrete and then got back up. He currently now does a fantastic diving cannonball through the middle rope to an opponent on the outside. Very often that move misses. And he takes this fantastic, flat, sick, thwack back bump onto the outside. And then he gets up like right away. So again, it's the style of character. He's the French Canadian Frankenstein's monster, so he is going to not sell a lot of offense. It's going to take a lot of beating to get him down, and it's going to take a lot to keep him down. Striking. Now you're probably thinking, but wait, Kane has a nice, diving clothesline. Yes, PCO does a really good job of just hurling his body at his opponent. Which, I mean, it's just, when you watch him work a match and you're like, there's no way this guy is still doing this stuff and he's still mobile as he is. So again, both guys have lots of punches and kicks that are offensive. Kane, of course, does the throat strike, but there's definitely a little bit more to the overall game plan that PCO has when it comes to just the striking ability. And again, I think it's more just the style of character. Grappling, that's Kane. You're looking at the tombstone piledriver, you're looking at the choke slam, body slam, suplexes. He's just going to do a lot more of those big impactful moves. PCO, a lot of times it's suplex on the outside, maybe a body slam, but he's not really doing, a choke slam or a power bomb where Kane has done both of those. Submission. I don't think I've ever seen either do like a spinning toe hold or a crossface or a sharpshooter. So the closest I can go is to give it to Kane. I know Kane for a while did lightly work in a submission for a little while. And he did try lots of choking. I guess we'll go with that. Qualified. High flying. Now you're thinking, wait, but Kane did a diving clothesline. Yes. PCO's finisher is a moonsault. And he also does a lot more dives to the outside. So he's very much, if you took the Kane style of character and then put him in an indie style wrestling where it's like, well, I need to do a dive now, don't I? This is the time for the dive. Or it's time for the top rope move. Here's my moonsault finisher. So it definitely comes to leaving the ground. PCO does that a lot more. Over with the crowd, I know it's going to be controversial. There is something about Kane, the Kane aesthetic. I think Kane, again, is also just more well-known. I went to a TNA event when Nick Aldis was still there in Cicero, near Chicago. And went there with a buddy from work, and he was there with his girlfriend. And when PCO came out, she was like, I don't get it. And we're like, he's a French-Canadian Frankenstein's monster. And again, there's this look of just shock. It's like, okay, yeah, you're pretty much watching a guy wrestle who is the unstoppable zombie, to try to explain it in really simple terms for someone who doesn't understand wrestling. And it's difficult for that to get over, where if you look at Kane's history, yes, you would end up having the burned alive baby brother of the bike riding necromancer who also shoots fire and occasionally controls lightning. And for a while had an issue with the release of a movie that he was in, and who may or may not have done something with Katie Vick. So, but with Kane, you can get past a lot of that, and just the overall aura and presentation pops the crowd easier than someone like PCO. Having said that, ring psychology. While you don't pop for PCO if you don't know who he is, when you watch him in a match, and the match goes on, you see the moves he's taking, it is that road warrior sort of like, yeah, he just took a vicious chair shot to the head and then just kind of screamed at the guy's face and wanted more of it. And you're like, okay, yeah, he did just take a 3-man power bomb through a table on the outside, and then kicked out at one, and then just started screaming and got back to his feet. And you're like, you know what? There's something viscerally satisfying about that. And on mic work. And if you go back to Kane's earlier iteration where he had Paul Bearer and then they gave him the voice box, he at least talked. PCO, again, this is the character work for it. Frankenstein's monster didn't talk that much. And you can also tell too from the work across the throat, there's the stitches. So you'd expect there to be issues with the vocal box, voice damage. He's not going to talk. It's not going to be a giant promo. It doesn't need a promo. It's the lightning sounds, it's alive, him coming down to the ring, and him getting wrecked and wrecking shop. He doesn't need to talk. He's the person that someone else talks for him, then he comes down to the ring and he just destroys everybody. So I do think in this sort of scenario, one, this would be a great fight to see. You've got two guys who are just two larger, big, brawly sort of guys who aren't afraid to have their feet leave the ground very often. But I do think more often than not, I picture Kane being someone to put down the French-Canadian Frankenstein. So if you think otherwise, that's the comment section for. If you liked it, like the video. If you didn't like it, thank you for listening to me for a little over 9.5 minutes. First I want to say this, if you enjoyed, like, share, subscribe. Alright, thank you everyone.